January 11 regular board session.
Thank you. Emily, are we on?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Welcome, everybody. We will call this regular meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, Mr. Grandia.
Keisha Johnner. Here. Mark Ramey.
Here.
Steve McCombs.
Here.
Very good. I would entertain a motion on this morning's agenda.
Make a motion, we approve today's agenda.
Second.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner. Aye.
Very good. Communications, Jake, any received by your office?
No, sir.
Supervisors?
None. Nope.
No.
All right, very good. None by me either, so. Public comments. It's a portion of our agenda. The public can speak on items that are not listed on this morning's agenda. The board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future Board of Supervisor meetings. Are there any public comments on items not listed on this morning's agenda? Yes, sir. Yeah, please identify yourself. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mark Harold. Prior, I used to be on the city council over in Belcher Dallas, and someone took over for me this year. So it was left at, last time I knew, that we was doing a contract with Sheriff Sanholm. And according to what we got information from is how much Bussey's paying for contract for getting police protection, and what we're paying for police protection. It was two different contract amounts, per pupil. And so that's why I just didn't know why is there, when you think it'd be the same per pupil if it's countywide.
Right.
And we do have a reserve officer going into academy, and so he's going to be full-time. Well, he's on full-time right now, but acting as a reserve. And but hopefully when he gets his credentials and who knows from there. So we keep on trying, but that was our main reason why there was two different kind of contract pays, per pupil, versus in the counties.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for the question. Appreciate it, sir, very much. Jason, I know you're here. Do you want to speak to that? There's nothing we can do right now because I'm unfamiliar with the contract.
No, it's nice public comment there. I had a good discussion with the I had a good discussion yesterday with the incoming mayor and a couple council members and stuff, and a very good conversation came out of that. So we're going to see where they progress with their discussions. They have a meeting tonight, and I'll fill you guys in after the meeting tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sheriff. And just so you know from your question, we leave those contract negotiations in the hands of the sheriff. He knows how to do this. And then when he is finished and completed with his discussions, he brings something to the board. So as soon as you folks are done talking about whatever those rates would be, then it would be presented to us for discussion and action.
Okay.
Very
I'll
good.
be there tonight too. So.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for the question, though, very much. Are there any other public comments on items not listed on this morning's agenda? Nothing on there. All right. Very good. We'll move on. Thank you for the question, though, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. I would entertain a motion on this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion, we approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner. Aye. McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. On to business. First item is a discussion item for a request for FY23 library support. Welcome, ladies, this morning.
Good morning. Do I have a microphone?
Or are you standing at the podium, or we have a mic?
I
don't know where the
know that microphone is going to be way too tall.
You can pull it down.
mic is.
Oh, okay. I thought it'd be harder to pull down.
That's all right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Rosalyn Thompson, and there are 5 libraries in Marion County, and 4 of us are here. Susan from Bussey could not be here because she had a she's having computers installed at the Massey Library.
Good.
So, thank you for having us over here. There's a brief slideshow that we have, and I will probably have each of the librarians.
Rosalind, can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
Could you introduce your fellow librarians just for the
Yes.
record so we know everybody's here?
Yes, absolutely. So, my name is Rosalind Thompson. I'm from the Knoxville Library.
I'm Lori Davis. I'm from the Melcher Dallas Library.
So can you repeat that into the mic, because I
Yes.
can't.
So she, and this is Lori Davis from the Melcher Dallas Public Library.
Your name.
I'm Joellen Cook from the Webb Shingle Public Library in Culverville.
And my name is Mary Strickler. I'm with the Pella Public Library.
Very good. Welcome, ladies. Thank you.
Yes, and Susan could not be here. Susan Bacon from the Massey Library, she did send a letter that, but like I said, she is having computers installed at the library as part of the ARPA grant that they received.
Okay.
So I think if that's okay, I will have each of the librarians talk about the portion in their slideshow.
Absolutely.
And the funding that we get from the Board of Supervisors is based on a formula of $4,000 base payment, and then the rest of the $95,000 that we get from the Board of Supervisors is divided according to percentages of circulation that we do to rural residents. And so you'll see the breakdown over there. The largest portion of rural circulation goes to the Pella Public Library, and then next is the Knoxville Library, and then it falls from there. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so the funding that we get from the Board of Supervisors for last year is $95,000 divided among the 5 of us. And for the Massey Library, it's about $4,750. And from Melcher Dallas, a minute while I go ahead. Melcher Dallas, do you know how much it is, Lori?
6,000 something.
Yes, $6,250. And for Knoxville, it's about $25,000, and for Pella Library, it's $51,250, and the Pleasantville Library receives $7,750. Next slide, thank you. And so here's we do all kinds of programming. Last year it has been a little difficult, but we've rebuilt our programming, and we provide all kinds of programming free to rural residents also. And the circulation that we turn into you doesn't quite include all of the other things that we do that are not counted, like such as wireless circulation or all the different programming and so on. But everything that we provide is free to rural residents also. Book sales, programming, summer reading program, arts and crafts, and so on. Next slide. And at the Knoxville Public Library last year, we offered 122 programs, most of it outside, but we had about 1,558 attendees at all of our programming. And we did a combination of in-person and also virtual programming, a lot of it outside. But the craft show, the summer reading program, and all that, that's very big for us. Next slide. Melcher Dallas?
We did everything take and make last year because we weren't quite open yet. We did hold the 2nd annual Festival of Trees. We've just finished the 3rd annual. We just lit the trees last year. No, we didn't have any carols or food or anything. This year's Festival of Trees, we had over 150 people through the door in one day for crafts, and snacks and caroling. We're trying, and we do serve everyone equally.
Are you talking, can I ask a question?
Yes.
When you said you weren't open, is that in 2020? And then in 2021, when did you open up?
Full-time in August.
In August.
We were part-time until then.
Next slide.
So you see on the slide a few of the highlights from the past year at the Pella Public Library. We were lucky enough this summer to partner with the Pella Art Center on youth programming, which took place at West Market Park. We did story time and art at the park for kids. We also were able to introduce an app this year, which has been a real improvement to customer service. One of the opportunities that came out of COVID was a new drive-in story time, which you see a picture of in the middle bottom of the page. And this year we also reintroduced Read for the Dogs, which is the opportunity for kids to be able to read to a therapy dog to help with both anxiety and reading skills. And I know that that is a program that is taking place in Pleasantville as well, and so it's something that people from across the county have been able to take advantage of at different locations. We've also been continuing with Take and Make arts and crafts projects for all ages, which have been very successful throughout the pandemic, and we're continuing with those. And we also are in the process of a transition to what's called radio frequency identification for our circulation and security of our library materials. And again, that'll be a big improvement to our customer service. So we've been really pleased throughout the past year to be able to continue with our mission to enrich our community by creating young readers, nurturing the joy of reading, and supporting lifelong learning. So that's a brief snapshot of the past year at the Pella Public Library. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to take them now or at the end of the presentation.
Well, thank you.
Next slide. Thank you.
The most exciting thing for our library is the city financially took us over. So our doors are remaining open. So we're very excited about that. What makes our library special is that I think it's more of a community center now. We have Girl Scouts coming in, we have youth group coming in on Wednesday evenings. Our interlibrary loan has increased. We're a small library. We can't count all the books that there is out there. But through the state, they've had a grant that we're able to request books from other libraries. It's a free service that the state has provided, and that is something that the community has really benefited from. We have a community garden. We do the elementary art teacher has been doing art camp in the summer. She held an art festival this winter with trees and stuff for festivities. We've done our pumpkin painting events. We've done our holiday children's holiday party. We do story time. We do Tail Wagging Tutors, which is the dog that comes in and the children read to. We're just blessed. We've been doing curbside services. Every little bit of money that we receive from you guys for rural readers, we utilize it to every single penny, and we're grateful for anything. And thank you so much for helping us provide to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the next slide is the letter that we sent to the board, and we are requesting an increase in funding from $95,000 to $100,000. And through the Code of Iowa, the state requires each county to levy a tax of at least 6 cents per $1,000 assessed property valuation, and right now we are at 11 cents. And the $5,000 extra would bring us up to actually 12 cents, and the state average is 15 cents. And so you can see that we do a lot of programming, and all of the programming and all of the activities, all of our services that we provide, we serve our city residents and rural residents equally. So we appreciate your support.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate that. Board, do you have any questions? Or just, no, we're not going to decide on the funding amount today. We'll do that during our normal budget process as we go through all these items. But are there any questions the board would like to ask at this time?
So the additional $5,000 would be split up evenly?
Yes, it would-
$1,000 to each library?
yes, and it would be a tremendous help, and especially to smaller libraries like Bessie and Notre Dallas, that $1,000 extra.
Is that increase targeted for any specific costs? Or-
Last year we started a county-wide community read, and we would like to continue that if we can. And that $1,000 would fund bringing activities or programming, maybe speakers, to help us with the county-wide read.
I mean, the slides are very impressive, but I would be more interested in a breakdown of actual numbers and costs per library, like what salaries and just where the money goes.
Okay, well, it goes towards programming mostly, because our salaries come from our city library. I mean, we are considered city libraries, and so our pay would come from the city mostly. And most of the funding that we get from the board, it goes towards services that we provide to rural residents mostly.
So none of the money that comes from Marion County goes towards salaries?
Yes. Yes,
That's correct.
That
that
is
is correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Rosalind, do you know where the 6 cents was the statutory levy rate?
Mhm.
When's the last time that's been looked at or updated by the legislature?
I don't know, because it's been a very, very long time.
Like 1922, probably, something like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's been a very long time. I would say more like 77.
I mean,
maybe,
just
I
seems
know.
so. But
Yeah.
But I imagine the levy rate doesn't contemplate increased costs, those types of things.
Mhm.
I mean, there's supposed to be somewhat of a tide of valuation and changes in valuation. I get that. One thing, ladies, I just want to, from my perspective, we appreciate what you do for our residents. Libraries are very important, even in the age of the internet and all the changes we've seen technologically. One of the dilemmas we face a little bit this year that's unique is the amount of money that the board has allotted to Pella and Knoxville for housing projects. So the $4.7 million or 4.9, I can't remember the exact number.
4.7.
7?
Yeah, 4.7.
For Prairie Ridge, and the roughly $11 million that the county is bonding for the VA project. Our county residents, our rural residents, have stepped up to assist in a significant way. So when we look at these kinds of costs and additional levies on our rural residents, I kind of think they've already stepped up in a very material way for these communities. So I know that's going to be an issue that I discuss during our budget process, because some of the dollars that we then have in our general fund, we have to think about health insurance this year for the county. Although our increase may not be as large as what we thought, it's still double digits. We have to think about raises this year. Our department heads have done an excellent job managing those costs. Our employees have done an excellent job, but we're, like all government entities, thinking about how do we make those dollars go farther for the services that we provide. So I just want to make you aware that one of our budget discussion items, especially as it pertains to Pella and Knoxville, not so much for Melcher and Pleasantville, but we think our rural residents have stepped up significantly when we ask them to help support these massive development projects
Right.
that are only going to help your libraries.
Yeah,
At the
yeah,
end of the
because
day.
it would raise the valuation, the property
Yes.
valuation.
Yes, so keep that in mind as we go through this, that if we get to a place where, I know we've done the 95, you're asking for a little bit more, but it's theoretically possible we could go down this year. So I just want to make you aware, because of those commitments that we've made. Don't know for sure yet, because Jake and I haven't had a chance to sit down and look at all the numbers, but that's just something to keep in mind.
I have a question for you guys. So when you give us those numbers on checkouts and is that checkout, how do you distinguish between a checkout and then an online? Does that make sense? Do you guys all offer online?
We
Yeah.
all offer online services. The circulation numbers are for hard copy circulation.
The physical, circulation of physical items.
Okay.
You know, that go out to the door. But yeah, we keep track of, downloadable items too, but that's not included in the circulation numbers that we tend to do.
Okay.
So it's almost an unfair, number that we turn into you, because it doesn't really count all of the loadable items.
But don't you feel that do you see those numbers increasing on the loadable side of it? So,
We do, and unfortunately, the reason we don't include the electronic circulations is because it's harder to pull out the circulation specifically to rural residents of Marion County. That's just a limitation with the system.
so you strictly use like addresses, is what you're saying? So the numbers you're showing is strictly address, rural residents, no combination. So, okay. All right.
And one thing I just wanted to mention to what you were mentioning about the budget, I certainly appreciate challenging budget situations and the investments in the county as a whole, including Pella and Knoxville. I would say that those investments in housing are going to seriously benefit the county and the towns in the future, and that the budget that you would be appropriating for the next fiscal year is really going to be benefiting youth and families now, and that is really important for the lifelong learning of the residents in this moment, and their education and their success throughout their lives. So I would just encourage you to recall that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
Board, any other questions for the librarians?
I don't have any.
No.
Again, we'll be discussing this at length during our budget process, which we are setting up our calendar as we speak, as we work through the department heads submitting their budgets. We roll that all up through Jake, and then we start going through our budget process, probably toward the end of the month. That's when we'll start looking at that. Awesome. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for all you do for our residents here in Marion County.
We'll probably leave.
Oh, absolutely. You mean you don't want to stick around?
I'm interested in the VA.
Very good, thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion, we close discussion.
Second?
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye. Next, we have resolution 2022-15, which is the acceptance of the 184th Place secondary, or into the secondary road system from maintenance, the Hunter Ridge Plat Edition. Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the last board meeting, I should have had this immediately following the acceptance of the final plat itself, although this is still in chronological order. So this is the same letter that I had sent before the acceptance of the final plat for Hunter's Ridge. This is just a formal resolution to accept the road itself that was included in Plat 5 into the secondary road system for future maintenance. One thing about this road that is different than all the others in Hunter's Ridge, is that I had them clarify that the storm sewer easements would also be accepted by the county because the storm sewers service the road. And we have had trouble with that in some other subdivisions where it's unclear on storm sewer easements and people try to say they don't want to allow us access. But those storm sewers are draining the road as a curb and gutter street. So we want to be able to maintain those storm sewers via those storm sewer easements. So we asked for that to be clarified on the plat, which it was, and I made note of that in the second paragraph in my recommendation letter to you.
Are the easements actually in the travel portion of the road, or do they extend beyond the travel portion?
Good question. They do extend for the entire right-of-way beyond the travel portion of the road.
Okay.
Very good. Any other questions, Keisha?
Nope, I don't.
So I recommend acceptance of this into the secondary road system for maintenance, as is all the other roads in Hunter's Ridge, as are.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion on resolution 2022-15?
I move we approve resolution 2022-15.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Tyler, thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Next item, we have a receive and file action from the Marion County Treasurer, Michaela.
I thought Tyler would take a lot longer.
Tyler takes so much.
So I am required by Iowa code to present to you this snapshot of the semi-annual report and then again the annual report at the end of our fiscal year every 6 months. Again, this is the status of our funds as of 12/31 of 2021. I don't use this as much because, you know, we're balancing daily. We're using our daily reports. We're using the month-end reports that Jake generates more so than we do this. Although our independent auditors use this to make sure that we're doing our jobs daily. They balance back to this pretty vigilantly. Basically, every penny that we take in, we account for, every warrant that is issued out of Jake's office, every transfer that we make, it should be reflected on this report.
Very good.
And I can always generate this at any time as well. This doesn't have to be just every 6 months. So if you are curious to see this more often, I can certainly provide that.
I think, Michaela, as since we have 2 large issues now added to this that we've not done in the past, items 66 and 67, which are the VA bond and the Prairie Ridge bond, kind of the status of those funds. We probably get it in other forms as well, Jake, but it might be good to maybe see this on a monthly basis as we go through these projects.
Certainly.
Very good. Steve, Keisha, any questions for Michaela on this item?
And I can always narrow down those funds as well.
Well, and that's really what I'm
Yeah.
looking for,
Yeah.
Michaela, is
So-
just so I can have it in my head.
That is also part of the monthly
Yep.
data that Jake generates, just a different format.
Yeah, I think it,
When I send out the monthly reports and that fund status summary report or whatever, we can try and highlight those two. Are you looking for like how we're doing on the cash balance
Yes.
for the project,
Yes.
basically? How much- Yeah,
that's
we'll try and
exactly what I'm looking
moving forward through those. Remind me if I don't do it originally, but we'll try and specifically point out the cash balances of what's left in the bond reserves as the projects proceed, if that's what.
for. Okay, very good, I appreciate that, thank you.
And then I was gonna ask, maybe Kim, since she's here, the number, is it 38, elderly nutrition line? Does that look like that's running, you know, as planned? Do you see that at all, Kim?
Can you go back to that?
Can you move it back to it? It's not a good.
One more. What fund is that, Jake?
It's Fund 71,000.
Can you go down one more screen, please? Go back one more. Is it there?
can't read it
Yeah,
unless
we
it's,
got it.
Can you see it, Kim?
is that running on track like typical?
Probably pretty close.
Okay, alright,
And I know we're making some adjustments to that, or at least testing out some new.
We are looking at some tools there to make difference.
see what we can, okay, alright.
Very good.
No, I would appreciate that, Michaela, if you could, if that was
Question?
something that maybe we could, put in our report, maybe monthly.
Yeah, are there any other questions on these items? Steve?
No,
Very good. Is there a motion to receive and file the FY 21-22 semi-annual report?
so moved.
I'll second.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner,
Aye.
Gomes,
Aye.
Very good, thank you. And
Thanks,
then
Michaela.
Michaela, I'd asked you to talk about a little bit, in the last meeting, when we did our authorizations for what we're holding in the banks and what our max amounts are and those things, we talked about fees or I was thinking about fees and interest rates and wanted to just give us kind of a general update where we stand with those various accounts.
Yeah, absolutely, and I put together some information that if you would like to look at, just kind of shows where we are.
Thanks, Michaela.
Thank
Then
you.
color coded it.
Ooh, oh, look at that.
But this is, again, a snapshot as of 12/31/21. I just gave you a rundown of what general accounts we have in each bank. You'll see I've listed the current interest rate, which unfortunately in the interest rate climate that we're in right now is significantly lower than it was pre-COVID. I've listed the balances and which of those bank accounts are attached to a specific general ledger fund. And that bank account balance should match that general ledger fund as of 12/31/2021. And then I've made some notes off to the side, some of those accounts are more active accounts, and that's where, when we're trying to decide, where to put our money and why, we look at several different things. For Iowa code, number one, I have to look at the safety and security of our funds. Number two, I have to weigh liquidity, what are our budget needs, our financial needs going forward. And number three, our priority is return on those funds. So we always balance fees because banks charge for what they do. Some of them don't want our money. Some of them can't take public funds. So we definitely work very hard with the banks that are willing to provide the services that benefit the taxpayers most, whether that's reducing fees, eliminating fees in some cases, whether that's providing a little higher interest rate. For example, we have one fund that, I made the decision to invest in a few years ago, that those funds are guaranteed to remain in Marion County for local development. I felt that that was an additional benefit.
Very good. Michaela, are there any of the funds, I'm looking at ones like the Travis Trust. We've had those in stationary accounts for a long time. A 0.3% interest rate, 0.3%. Are fees eating into our balance?
No, there are no fees on most of the accounts that you see here.
Okay.
A few years ago, our fees could be as much as $200 a month. I did check on, I pulled that chart of accounts number just to double check what our fees were for last fiscal year. We had a $20 stop payment charge. That was it.
That was it, okay.
So,
That's good, okay. And some of these accounts, are they you know, like such as what we have, like the Travis account, is that a CD or is that a checking account? That's,
Right now, we did have several CDs pre-COVID. Many of them were doing fairly well interest rate wise. 2.61, we were climbing up towards 3%. Things were looking really great. And then the bottom kind of dropped out of the interest rate environment. So I have chosen to keep our funds liquid in more money market accounts.
okay. That's
Even
number-
though
okay.
those interest rates look low, the CD interest rates are not that much higher. I do go out on the, before we do any reorganization, which, I do weigh that carefully because it's, number one, a lot of work for us, a lot of work for the banks to reorganize, and, that's not something that we want to do frequently.
How often do they change those then? Because, in my other job, I watch this, too, and I understand what you're dealing with. Is this, I mean, since these are money markets, are they changing them, yearly
They
or
may
they half year?
fluctuate monthly.
They are, okay, all right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Michaela, interest rates are low, obnoxiously low because of Fed policy that reduces interest rates. Jay Powell has now signaled they are going to raise rates this year.
Yeah.
Upwards of 3 times, maybe 4. Now, they're not going to, they're just blowing smoke. But let's say they do it twice. Do we get any information that helps us front run some of this so that we can be prepared for a move in interest rates to the upside, change our balance, change banks, change accounts? Like Keisha said, we may move from money markets to CDs because we get a more advantageous rate. Do we get any information like that, or do you get it from the Treasurers Association, state of Iowa, that gives us any heads up on the market as it's coming to us, not the market as it was, because that does us no good.
Right. The treasurer's state of Iowa, they don't typically reach out with that information. The only information really available to us is what the minimum investment rate is that we can utilize. Typically, that's really, really low. Right now, it's 0.05%. At this point, again, we're limited by what institutions we can invest in. It has to be an institution that has a brick and mortar location either in our county or in an adjacent county. We're actually very lucky in Marion County that we have a lot of those. But we have really good relationships with those banks. They know what our goal is with taxpayer money when it comes to, trying to maximize returns. And they're typically pretty good at reaching out to us, and we will reach out to them periodically. Typically February is a really good time to do that because in March, we'll start having the property tax money come in.
Right. So when we think about that, liquidity obviously is a key concern of yours, as you highlighted. We need access to cash, we have to pay bills, or we have to redistribute funds. For the funds that we hang on to, I know I've asked this question over the years, are we so limited to, because essentially we're losing money for the taxpayer with this kind of interest rate. Depreciation, other costs, we're in the hole of inflation alone. If we account for inflation at 5%, we're in the hole. Can we invest in what are deemed investment grade instruments as a county, like the state does, like IPERS does, like insurance companies do, like 20-year bonds for the federal government? It's supposed to be the most secure investment in the world is to invest in 20-year U.S. government bonds. And can we do anything like that to get a better return?
We can. I believe when it comes to government bonds, I think the minimum is a 2-year investment in those.
Yeah, they have 2, 3, 5, 10. Yeah, you can do 20, 10 years the benchmark.
And when I checked, that yield was about 0.5% higher than what we're getting in our money markets. Nobody has a crystal ball and can predict the future. Obviously, we keep hoping that those rates will go up and, we can start to get better return on our taxpayer money. point, I've kind of just kept everything as it is until I can start to see some movement.
Well, I guess what I'm asking,
So-
Michaela, is what can we invest? I get
I believe-
what
yes,
you're
I
doing,
believe
but
we can.
what can we do? And I think as a board, I think what I'd like to see are a list of what's available to us. Because I think what constrains us a little bit sometimes is we think this is all we've got, are just these banks and the interest rates. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when liquidity is your issue and you need access to funds. But if we don't need access to funds and we can still provide a very stable, secure, AAA rated investment for our taxpayers, but that's half a percent higher, maybe a full percent higher if Powell raises rates. At least to know that, what that list of approved investments are. In the financial world, that's what you would get. I mean, when I was in the insurance world, that's what you get, is a list of approved investments. The state regulates that too. Tells insurance companies what they can invest in, what they can't. So if you could come up, if there's a list available, that would be great.
Yeah, and I believe, yeah, in the Iowa code, it does say obligations of the United States government, its agencies and instrumentalities. So I'm assuming that would fall underneath.
That's
part of the
the
code.
standard language
So-
in governments, insurance, securities,
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume.
So what is
that's-
I mean,
It'd be
because,
bonds, CDs, and. yeah.
well, but even that covers a broad range of stuff.
Right, you're wanting to get more creative than just a regular money market.
No, I just want to be more specific. That's all I want to be, is more specific. I can say government instrumentalities, and we could say, well, let's invest in, government-backed corn futures. I don't think that would work, right? So what's the list? Do we have an approved list, is all I'm asking for, at some point. Okay?
Thank you, Michaela.
Very
Appreciate
good.
what you're doing.
Do you have any other questions, folks?
I don't.
Steve?
Nope.
All right, Michaela, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Very good. Mr. Nestaby, VA update.
Yeah, so nothing really major at this point. We've had some really cold weather. It's caused a few early shutdowns. A few times we couldn't get an excavator started, things of that nature, because they don't have a power source out there to plug anything in. Snow really didn't slow us down much. As you can see, most of the tree cutting's done at this point, especially on the north side. A lot of brush piles, things will start tending to here in the next month or so. So really, yeah, about the same old, same old. Buildings are still coming down. Weather hasn't slowed us down too much, so things are going real well. We did officially get all the testing back on the boiler plant.
Okay.
So right now we're working with them to get some bids on abatement for demolition.
Okay.
But the testing has been completed.
Very good, very good, thank you. Board questions?
When I was through there last week, so where are we at next on buildings? Because it looks like there's only maybe one or two left, and then the boiler plant
So there's.
on the north side. I
So
should say.
yeah, 74 is still virtually untouched. Everything else is either quarter torn down or half torn down on the east side. Once 74 is gone, ideally we're gonna retain 2 or 3. I mean, there's 11 hose out there right now tearing stuff down, so we're not gonna need all those when they get to the south side. They're gonna start pulling equipment out here probably in the next 30 to 45 days. We'll probably leave 1 or 2 pieces of equipment on the north side, just to nip and tuck, maybe help with the dirt crew once things thaw out. But I'm guessing you're gonna see maybe 2 pieces of equipment go to the south side here in the next 30 days, start knocking that out. That's the tentative plan right now.
Okay.
There is the unseen variable, which we continually run into out there, which is the underground infrastructure that we either couldn't find early on or predated anything that actually ran to an existing building. You know, that stuff was almost impossible to locate. And considering the federal government gave us 0 information on the property when we received it, we are still running into things like that. So I know they're trying to nip and tuck those things as they go, but one thing you're going to see a slowdown. A lot of the foundation work is very difficult to do in this type of weather. You know, when the ground's froze, foundation's completely open, it's actually freezing quite a ways out from the foundation, it's difficult to dig, a lot extra wear and tear on the equipment. So I would say they'll probably move over to the south side, start knocking officers' quarters out, old nurses' quarters and daycare will probably disappear in the next 30, 45 days. Again, the end goal is late February, early March, most of the buildings are gone. And then it's gonna be foundations, concrete removal, and then final grading. So we're still sitting in a really good position.
Thank you.
It's certainly looking different.
It shocks me I see it every day, and it still shocks me every time I go out there how different it is. So, by the way, I have been getting a lot of phone calls about brick. So I'd like to tell the public that the moment for brick has passed. We're really past that point now. We did offer quite a few opportunities to get brick early on. Most of what we got going on right now, especially in the last remaining buildings, are multiple layers of lead-based paint, and that's obviously brick we're not going to be handing out to the public. So that, for future reference, I do appreciate phone calls and people that are interested in it, but we've kind of passed that point.
That's good update.
I think those drone videos have been quite helpful for people
Yes.
too.
Yeah, Andrew's been doing a wonderful job, so if anybody was unaware of that, Andrew DeHaan, our IT director, has actually been taking the time out of his schedule to not only go out there and fly those, but then to edit them and put them, upload them same day. I think it's wonderful.
It is,
He's
yeah.
been doing a great job, and I'm very appreciative of that.
And thank you for, Emily and Renee, I don't know who's putting them on the website, or helping, and thank you for the media for distributing that too, so appreciate that.
Very good. Anything else? Steve?
No, thank you, Chris.
All right, very good. Chris, thank you very much. Entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion, we close discussion.
Second?
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Updates, Mr. McCombs.
I have a landfill meeting tomorrow and I've heard a meeting in the future, so things are going like planned.
Keisha?
I'll have planning and zoning at the end of this month, and then also we have, I believe we'll have impact, I haven't heard yet, when we'll have that meeting, so I don't have anything further.
Okay, very good. Well, we're still working on the mental health, public health nonprofit. I'll get an update with Kim as soon as she and I can regroup after a couple of illnesses and talk about that a little bit. And then remember, we've got budget coming up. So an alert to all department heads. Smile, Michaela. It's a good thing. And then, yeah, Renee's got a timeline, kind of a generic timeline out for the board. Think of the dates you're available. I know Jake, deadline for department heads to get everything to you is tomorrow. So that's the deadline. And then we'll roll it up from there and put a calendar out and start going through that process. That's all I've got. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make motion to adjourn.
Second?
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.